We are headed rapidly into a new year. We hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy new year, of course. But joining us now in the studio, Colonel Steven Maxwell, the director of the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. Morning, Colonel. Thanks for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us.
You bet. So, start, Colonel, if you don't mind, a little bit about your background and how you ended up at the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. How long you been there?
Okay. Well, I've been with the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics for 27 years.
Wow.
And I'm a lifelong resident of the state of Mississippi. Graduated from Stone County High in Stone County, Mississippi. And I've just been very blessed and fortunate to work with the men and women in law enforcement throughout our state, and was very fortunate to be appointed by Governor Reeves and Commissioner Tyndall to this position. And working with the men and women of the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics has been an extremely blessing for me. It's been very fulfilling, and we're very proud of the work that we do for the people of the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. Thanks for that background. So, one of the things that I think a lot of people are very much aware of that seems to be all over the news is this fentanyl stuff. What's going on? I haven't heard a lot about that as it relates to the state of Mississippi, but it's here, right?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, fentanyl is a very powerful opioid approved by the FDA specifically for the treatment of pain and also used as an analgesic and an anesthetic. And what we have right now going on in communities across the state of Mississippi is that illicit fentanyl is extremely prevalent. It has pretty much permeated the drug culture. It is a synthetic drug that cartels find much easier to make, and they can decrease, their manufacturing costs because they don't have to cultivate a plant, such as the coca plant for cocaine and the poppy plant for heroin. All you need is the chemicals to produce this synthetic drug, and you can transport smaller amounts and then convert it into much larger amounts of drugs for retail because of its potency. It is up to 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine.
Wow. Is it a drug that's sought by drug addicts that are also using other drugs? Is this kind of a progression to fentanyl? How does that work?
So what we're experiencing right now really is a tectonic shift in the drug culture, where in the past, people that use drugs recreationally, people that abuse drugs and that were addicted to drugs, it was primarily cocaine, and various and sundry other drugs. But the synthetic drug market has really come online and it's really taken hold, one, because the cartels are pushing it due to the fact that it broadens their profit margin. And fentanyl and its analogs are so much more potent and have a greater addictive propensity than drugs that we've seen being used before. And so, once you get on that addictive track, you do continue to seek the next high, and you want it to be higher than the previous one. And unfortunately, we do have individuals who are battling substance use disorders, who are addicted to drugs, that do actually seek out fentanyl.
So they seek it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the mindset is that when you hear that someone unfortunately has overdosed, and even if they've died as a result of an overdose, an addicted person thinks, well, that person has got, quote unquote, the good stuff.
I got you.
And they actually seek out that dealer to purchase from he or she. And we have seen individuals overdosed, and they may have been revived as a result of the deployment of Narcan, and then they'll go right back again and use the remainder of that drug.
Interesting. So is it true, or is there anything to the fact, or not the fact, but the possibility that as drug addicts move to fentanyl, they stop using other drugs? So is there like a decline of one drug, such as heroin and cocaine, but an increase of fentanyl? Is there a relationship there?
Well, so your goal is to get high, and you're seeking that high. And many drug users use whatever they can get their hands on. And unfortunately, you're in this thought process and this mindset that, it's kind of like what Benjamin Franklin said, that, if you do tomorrow what you do today, you'll get the same results tomorrow. And that's what they're doing every single day and getting the same results.
So what is the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics? How are you guys fighting this?
Well, our goal is to, one, raise the awareness of the public, to let them know that fentanyl is prevalent. It's prevalent.
Okay.
It's being used as a lace, a cut, and sold as a counterfeit drug. And so a lot of the pills that are being sold in the illicit market right now, they're not pharmaceutical grade. They're actually fentanyl and methamphetamine that's been pressed, cut, colored, and scored and being sold under the moniker of a pharmaceutical drug. We want to educate the public and encourage them to exercise a greater degree of prudent judgment. If you are going to use something for pain, if you're going to use something for relief, make sure that it's something that you acquisition from a pharmacist by way of having gone and visited your doctor and obtained a prescription. We don't want to go see Bubba, Ray, Homer, or anyone like that that's not a licensed, registered, trained physician or pharmacist and who knows what they're doing.
Interesting. So then is it possible then that folks think they're buying a particular pharmaceutical, but in actuality this is what they're buying? Absolutely. Many people think that when they purchase pills outside of a pharmacy setting, unfortunately, that they are buying, Loratab, oxycodone, oxymorphone, so forth and so on. But they're literally buying fentanyl and/or methamphetamine that's been laced, cut, colored, and scored, and sold under that moniker. When we looked at the overdose deaths that occurred in our state last year, which was 529. When we looked at the toxicology reports, the most prevalent drug in those overdose deaths was fentanyl. Second to that was methamphetamine, and then various and sundry other drugs. Interesting. I see. Is this, it appears, at least the way the national news reports it, that most of the fentanyl is routed into this country through the Mexican border. Is that true?
Yes, sir. So the Mexican drug cartels who control the trafficking routes into this country on the south and southwest border, they have migrated to synthetic drugs.
Yeah.
Again, you cut your manufacturing and your production costs down, your workforce is cut down, and it's much more easily to smuggle into the country because you can smuggle smaller amounts and then convert it into much larger amounts of retail level drugs.
It's more profitable, essentially.
Absolutely.
Is the bottom line, but
Absolutely.
It's also considerably more dangerous.
It's much more dangerous. It's much more dangerous, and it puts a much greater degree of the public at risk outside of those who use drugs recreationally, who abuse drugs, and who are addicted to drugs. Let's say, for instance, if someone is vaping and they happen to be vaping a substance that contains fentanyl, it's aerosoled, and just as you could be exposed to secondhand smoke, you could be exposed to secondhand vape and have an adverse reaction to the fentanyl that's aerosoled in the air.
I see. So the MBN, you have officers all across the state?
Yes, sir.
Position all across the state?
Yes, sir. And so what we're doing is we've expanded our partnerships beyond working with just law enforcement and our judicial entities. We're working with other state agencies like the Mississippi Department of Mental Health, Mississippi Public Health Institute, nonprofits like First Responders of Mississippi, and we're pushing out as much information possible about the importance of knowing where to get help. For someone that's battling not only a substance use disorder, but also issues that precipitate self-medication that result in substance use disorders like mental health, behavioral health issues, so forth and so on.
I just always wonder, Colonel, if just, I guess, convicting someone of the various crimes associated with drugs, and then locking them up, incarcerating them, is that really solving the problem?
Well, what I can tell you is that through these expanded partnerships, as we have learned more about the impact of behavioral health and mental health issues, and unfortunately how we or children are exposed to drugs with the parents using drugs before a child is born, is that there are people who need to go to prison and they should go to prison, but then there are also people who are better suited for treatment.
Right.
And that's why we've expanded our partnerships, and we're able to push out the information about the availability for treatment, and working with the Mississippi Department of Mental Health and Mississippi Public Health Institute.
So would your group work with the judicial system, the judges and so forth, to maybe advise them and guide them on this?
Absolutely. I mean, we're in constant communication with the district attorneys throughout the state. Oftentimes, we dialogue with judges who oversee youth courts and who also oversee drug courts throughout the state of Mississippi. And when they ask our opinion and our advice about someone, I mean, we provide it, and because we understand the importance of putting people in a position to lead more productive lives.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want them back in society and being productive.
Absolutely.
Bottom line.
Absolutely.
So, Colonel,
Yes, sir.
pleasure having you on today, sir. Thank you for your service and the insight. And please have a healthy, happy, and safe New Year.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
Colonel Steven Maxwell, the director of the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, has been our guest here on Middays. We'll step aside for a break right here. We got Jamison Taylor from the Center for Political Renewal. He's the president there. He's coming up at 12:05.